think for you as the filmmakers as it was for them. Can you talk about the experience of filming this grueling competition?
Sure. Well, I think if you know, towards the end there, where you see us starting to break up a little bit towards the end, you can sort of get a sense of where we were. Yeah, I had us on a, before we shot, I built a chart that had us on, you know, there was myself, Chapin, Michael Nichols who's here with us as well. I had us on a rotation. I think it was like 8 hours. 8 hours on, then you would sleep for 3, then you came back. And then by the second day or so, I came back from my break, and I think it was Michael. He came and goes, "I ain't leaving, I'm not leaving." It was so, you know, at that point, by the second day, everyone was so invested that no one wanted to leave. And frankly, it was quite boring. So the only time it was exciting is when someone actually left, and so no one wanted to leave. And so by the third day or so, we were pretty much lunch meat and just trying to hang out.
Yeah, you didn't want to, you were invested, like you leave and go to sleep for a couple hours and come back and somebody would be like, "Oh, you should have seen it, he dropped off and you weren't there." So yeah, eventually we just ended up like laying in the back of a car, like and sleeping for a couple of hours, because you didn't want to miss what was happening.
And did this originally start as an This American Life, or how did you did a This American Life segment based on this story as well? Or
This American Life did a segment on the movie years later.
Okay.
Yeah, this was my hometown, and so we sort of found out about it from growing up there. Yeah.
And you shot this on high 8?
Shot this on the glorious format of high 8 analog tape.
Who here remembers high 8 and was shot with this format? You guys see the dropout, like the high 8 dropout?
There's no dropouts.
It adds to the texture of it. It's sort of, I remember high 8.
We were saying that it's, you know, like you can tell modestly, you can tell the old Technicolor process, like it dates a film, you know exactly when it was shot. The fact that there's, you know, a movie that's, you know, in a theater that's shot on high 8, you know, really grounds it in that particular moment.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when I first saw this film, I was just kind of blown away by it. It's part of the kind of this wave of great documentaries that happened in the '90s. You know, it was kind of a revelation as a great American story, and the fact that you guys had done this with high 8 cameras and you didn't need to have, like, you know, Beta or Beta SP was kind of inspirational, I think, to a lot of people. You know, today when we're shooting on DSLRs, we forget, you know, that 10, 15 years ago, it was a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, this happened right before the digital revolution. I mean, and I budgeted. I'd been, you know, Chapin and I both, you know, come out of film school. We knew what gear, you know, gave a beautiful image. But I sat down and did a budget, and there was just no way, you know, to do this film, you know, on film or with Beta SP or anything that was available at the time. And so, you know, we borrowed cameras and sound equipment. I bought a mic, much like this, a Radio Shack, and off we went. Got some lights at the local hardware store.
We made our lights out of PVC pipe and, you know, like shop lights.
Light stands, yeah. Yeah, this is about as you know, doing DIY as you can, I think. But we still had a Steadicam Junior there. We had some equipment, but truly handmade.
I have a lot of questions, but I want to open up to the audience. You raised your hand quickly, so.
Yes, I have 2 quick questions. Are they still doing great film, thank you. Are they still doing the contest, and what's happened to everybody? Can you give us where are they now?
They did the contest the year after, as you saw, and then they let go of the contest, no pun intended, because it was a loss leader for the dealership. They would lose money every time they did the contest because people wouldn't want to come and shop. So they stopped doing the contest. Then the movie came out and did what it did. 2020 did a thing, 60 Minutes, or, you know, some pretty big shows did some coverage on it. So they brought it back. Truck got bigger, got better. They put bleachers in. You know, it became a thing. And then And then tragedy struck, and a fellow who was deep into the contest left the truck and went across the street to Kmart, busted out the front window with a trash can, got a gun, because we have guns in Texas and Kmart's, and killed himself. When he was headed out of the Kmart, and the police showed up, and he went back inside and did that, and the contest ended that, then they stopped doing it. They were sued, and it was an unfortunate ending to the contest.
That type of contest, though, is we learned later is very popular, sort of in the South. When we were interviewing Benny, he told us that we didn't believe anything Benny said when we interviewed him, before the contest. Well, I didn't believe it. Rob bought it.
Everything.
Yeah, everything he said turned out to be true, but he told us that there was this contest called Lips on a Lincoln. We didn't believe him. We just thought he was making it up as he was going along. We were in a bar in Manhattan Beach one time, and the TV was playing local news, and you couldn't hear it, but flipped to some news coverage, and there were a bunch of people squatted around a Lincoln with their lips like pressed up against the truck, and so
he goes. He listed 2 or 3, and he said Lips on Lincoln. And when he got to Lips on Lincoln, he goes, "I just don't think I could do that. That must be utterly and completely boring."
It was a 1960 Lincoln with suicide doors that might be a different thing. Question back there?
I love the movie. Were either of you pulling for anybody during the competition?
I think we all had favorites. I'll let Chapin speak to his, and Michael and Julia, who was also part of the films here. Everyone had a favorite. Mine was obviously Benny. Well, maybe not obviously, but mine was definitely Benny. I mean, as a storyteller, we went down there. I was like, this should be a good movie. This should work. But I was unsure. I was unsure. It could be terribly boring. Nothing could happen. Characters might not show up. And Chapin and I were interviewing, the folks before the contest, and then Benny came in. Well, it's a couple interesting folks who come in, like, it's some interesting stuff. And then Benny came in and just blew us away. It was a 2-hour interview. I didn't want to stop. It was just prolific, epic, and Highlander and Star Wars, metaphysics, language theory. I mean, this is the tip of the iceberg. I mean, on the DVD that's coming out, or if you go to the website, there's extras, and we put another 15, 20 minutes of Benny, and even that's the tip of the iceberg. So when he left, Chapin and I looked at him and I think we got a movie. There's a movie. So for me personally, I couldn't see past him. So when he fell out of the contest, I was devastated. I was like, that's the end of the movie. That's it. How's this going to cut? Where's this going to go? I couldn't see past that. But Michael, I think Chapin, I think.
I loved Benny too for all those reasons, but I got attached to Norma and ended up spending a lot of my time following her, just because she was so, that part of Texas is squarely in the Bible Belt, and she was so genuine, and sincere in her faith, and after a while it sort of became clear to everybody that it was, she was probably physically the least likely to be able to, stand the physical test of the endurance, but there was something about her faith that was, clearly giving her an edge, and that fascinated me.
Everyone had their favorites. Everyone would key in on somebody and really want to interview them, really want to spend time with them, and luckily so, because Chapin's filmmaker director, Michael showing the cameras, filmmaker director. So I had there's 3 of us there that we're storytellers, and so it was helpful that everyone fell in love with other folks.
Over here. My wife and I saw the play previews, the musical, last week. It's really fantastic. Everyone's got to see it. It's amazing how they adapted it.
Everyone.
How much did you participate in the adaptation? What do you think of it?
Well, first off, I really like it. I really like it. I think it's fantastic. And my biggest contribution to the musical was outside of the film was was you know, just okaying, picking, shaking hands with Doug Wright and Amanda Green. I mean, they, two or three other teams that made musicals came to us, and actually two really pro teams, and then a third amateur team from Los Angeles, who I said no to when I met them, but the young girl had written the musical and had staged some scenes. And so I actually went and saw, you know, sat in, and she performed, you know, her and her team had performed a couple scenes, and, you know, it was pretty terrible, but she, you know, put her heart into it. But no, Doug and Amanda were great. You know, they you know, Doug's from Texas. He's the book writer, the guy who wrote the play. And they both were they both seemed to really get it. We had long talks about tone. My big concern was that they wouldn't stray tonally too far from the movie. I was concerned that, you know, these folks are easy to make fun of if you want to go that direction.
That's why this doesn't scream musicals.
Yeah.
Neither does Grey Gardens.
True. I don't know, but, you know, music is big emotion. There's big emotion, big sweep in emotion. It's easy to stage, you know, central location. I think what attracted them the most was you have 10 characters, you know, once you whittle it down, that each have a dream, that each have a goal, that each are coming to the truck for a different reason, for a different goal. So if you're thinking broad entertainment, you're thinking, you know, musical, everybody's got a way in. You've got 10 ways in to the story for yourself. So I think that those are some of the things that attract you. Plus it's a challenge, I would imagine.
Over here.
So I saw this way back when it first came out, and for years I would tell people about it, and they couldn't find it, and it disappeared off of Netflix. What was the story of the rights and the release of the movie?
Well, it was never on Netflix, probably, because Netflix wasn't around back then, right? Or was it?
But no,
Or did they?
they had it up there, like, coming soon,
Right.
you know, but it never made it. Yeah, I mean, the simple story is we partnered with a distribution company who got it out theatrically, and then they folded. They went bankrupt, and they disappeared with our 35mm negatives, our masters, everything, the music, everything. And so it just was gone. It just disappeared, and then no one could get a copy. $300-400 on eBay, that sort of thing. We had no copies, and so basically we took the clones of the original material, and which was about 100 hours of tape, and put it back together shot by shot. I had an old DVD, an old dub of a dub, and put it on the timeline, and of course, over 2 or 3 years, just slugged in shots, find a shot, slug it in, find a shot, slug it in. And we did a mix, and then we did, you know, series of restoration passes with some high-tech gear in Los Angeles. The tapes degraded, the clones degraded over the years, and so it was, you know, it was a tough thing. This is a totally new movie. I mean, this is totally recreated, you know. So yeah, and so now it's, you know, we're bringing it back out.
Well,
It's amazing you had to remake the film. I mean,
Yeah, not a fun process. Yeah.
it's actually you know, part of the restoration process was to make sure that the film could be available, and you know, we have a website now, and you can buy the DVD, or you can download it from the website. So it's officially back at handsonthehardbodythemovie.com.
It's coming out. It'll iTunes and Amazon. It'll roll out. It's going to be on our website for a while.
over here.
Yes, I remember seeing this when it came out in the late 90s, and seeing on the screen the documentary, "To Hands of the Hardbody," and I remember thinking, they have big plans for this, and right now there's a big trend of documentaries being turned into features, and I'm wondering, I think there was a story about this was originally going to be a feature.
Can we speed up to the question, because we've got like 3 minutes
Yes,
left?
I'm just wondering, did you have plans for this then, and what was that story that I had heard something about?
Well, Robert Altman was gonna,
Yes, it was
yeah, was in development when he passed away. No, the simple truth is, it came time to pick a title, and I felt like Hands on a Hardbody was the event. And I just, just wanted to respect the event as the event, and the movie as the movie, documentary as a documentary, and that was it.
And
Pretty
what
simple.
about Robert Altman?
It's gonna be great. It's gonna be his best ever.
He was actually, they were finished with pre-production, and I believe they were a week or two from actually shooting the movie. It was all set to go, and unfortunately, he passed away.
In the back over there.
Yes.
Hi, my friends and I are all detectives and love the film we all have. Are there any characters you wish you had followed more in the development of the story? Or perhaps moments that you didn't capture that you wish you had?
Definitely not characters. We followed everybody pretty well. Became sort of clear pretty early on who was interesting, who was not. And then just through attrition, they drop off, and so, couldn't follow them past that. But no,
Well, there was only one thing I think that we all, actually, when we were finished shooting, we were quite worried about, is that we never actually saw anybody drop off the truck, that moment where they give up. And, we thought that was going to be a bigger liability than it turned out to be in the end, but it seemed like when you were watching them, they weren't going to go, if the camera was around, they weren't going to make a mistake. It always seemed to happen when the camera was pointed in another direction.
All right, over here.
What do you think the documentary says about the importance of smoking in the conversation?
my daughter's in the audience, so no comment.
And it's like the Woody Allen film Sleeper. He wakes up a couple hundred years later, and it turns out smoking's the best thing for you.
All right, and one final question over here. Yes, you.
I'm just curious, I've seen it a while ago too, but is the reaction in audiences across the country different? I mean, I'm from Connecticut, I've lived in New York 20 years, and I definitely feel a lot of the laughter is just the sort of cultural dissonance maybe. I'm curious what it's like when you screen it more local, or has there been international reaction at all?
It did screen internationally. I wasn't there. People are buying it. It's really interesting. The website went up a couple weeks ago, and I could, I see what countries people are buying it all over the world. It's really fascinating. Kazakhstan and Uganda. Some really amazing places. But I don't know. We screened it in Texas. We screened it in Longview, and I had concerns about how some of it would go over, and they loved it. They absolutely loved it. In fact, my biggest fear was Norma was would it upset her? Would it feel like that we took an unfavorable approach to religion and her downfall or something? And they absolutely loved it. And in fact, when we saw them later, she said, "Oh, we show in the church every weekend, and the way she views it is she was there to spread the word to all of you. That was her. That's how what she read out of it. So.
I remember Rob told me something that I believe is totally true. Shortly after we'd seen the film with an audience for the first time, was the laughter in the beginning seemed sometimes to be make both of us cringe a little bit, just because you can hear people sort of laughing at the characters, and but it seemed generally pretty consistently that by the end of the movie people were still laughing, but there was a little bit more empathy maybe behind it, like they were drawn into the story as opposed to sort of pointing at a spectacle. But I know it did concern all of us that we were, Rob said in the edit room, he was like, how long do you let somebody say something where people might be laughing at them? And he said the measure should be, can you sit in a room and watch it with them, and then be there to look them in the eye afterwards. So I think that was really sort of the line that Rob drew in the sand for himself.
So I cut it. I was editing pretty much in a vacuum. I'd send cuts, you know, when I'd have one back to Los Angeles where these guys were, but it was just me in a dark room very late at night because I was editing after hours, and so, you know, what to do, you know. But,
Did making this film feel like killing your first deer?
if I was a deer.
Listen, I think we just have the final cutoff signal over here. So thank you very much for coming out. We'll be at the Corrales Tavern.